into people's pockets. The Office for Equality and Opportunity recently launched a public consultation on mandatory ethnicity and disability pay gap reporting and a call for evidence on other measures to improve security at work for everyone and to tackle unequal pay. We will work in partnership with business to deliver this government's plan for change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many constituents have written to me to express their concern on the recent UK Supreme Court ruling relating to the legal definition of a woman. It has left the already vulnerable members of the trans community feeling uncertain about how they will be able to go about living their day-to-day lives. What steps is the Minister taking to work with her colleagues in other departments to provide further guidance and clarity on what this judgment means in practice?
Mr. Speaker, you will know that I made a statement to this House setting out the government's position where we welcome the clarity of the Supreme Court ruling. I should also stress that, of course, everyone within our country deserves to be treated with dignity, respect and compassion, and trans people continue to enjoy protection from harassment and discrimination under the law. We are working with the EHRC on their code of practice, which they will set out in due course following consultation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My right honourable friend will know of the growing concerns around social media algorithms increasingly promoting misogynistic and harmful content to children, particularly using the hook of dangerous online influencers. Can my right honourable friend advise what steps she is taking, working with Cabinet colleagues, to protect young people from such destructive influences?
I know my honourable friend raises a concern shared by many across this House and the crucial importance of rooting out misogyny, whether it's online or offline. I'm working with colleagues across government to tackle these dangerous attitudes. We are looking, for example, through the Department for Education at bringing forward updated RSHE guidance to make sure we can use that to prevent and tackle misogyny. But alongside that, I know that my colleague, the Science and Technology Secretary, is determined to go further and faster to make sure that children are protected online.
Shadow Minister Sakibati.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a great believer that Britain is one of the greatest meritocracies in the world, where certainly, at least in our party, you can rise to the very top, irrespective of your race, your religion or your gender. The government's consultation on reforming equality law is a litany of activist demands and bureaucratic burdens with no proof that any of these measures will reduce inequality. So why is the government so determined to divide people into boxes on the basis of race instead of promoting equality of opportunity for all?
Mr. Speaker, this Labour government is determined to break the link between background and success. So where you are from does not determine what you are able to go on and achieve, and that everyone has the chance to get as far as their hard work and their talent will take them. We do believe it is important that we tackle some of the unacceptable gaps that we see around access to employment and pay for people from minority ethnic communities and also disabled people too. And that's why we are consulting on this, working with business, and we want to get this right.
Mr. Speaker, the Tories shamefully left the gender pay gap persistently high. Does the Secretary of State agree that Labour's childcare expansion, free breakfast clubs and new nurseries will drive up women's incomes and work choices because they are disproportionately more affected by caring responsibilities?
Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour government is determined to make sure that all women have choices where it comes to balancing work and family life. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we are expanding access to childcare through new free breakfast clubs, new primary-based nurseries, and I'm delighted that in my honourable friend's constituency, his constituents will benefit from one of those new free breakfast clubs.
Perpetrators hanging around school, malicious contact with customers and rat poison being sent to my constituents' homes are all frightening experiences faced by victims of domestic abuse. But police responses are inconsistent even when perpetrators are on bail. What is the Minister doing to work with other departments to ensure everyone in the system, from call handlers to CPS workers, have training on the forms of non-violent abuse to make sure that children and women are protected?
I'm grateful to the Honourable Lady who raises some incredibly important points and shines a light on the experiences of victims in her constituency. This government is determined to halve violence against women and girls. That's why, as my honourable friend the Minister set out earlier, we're taking a range of actions right across government. We, of course, are always happy to consider further areas where action is needed so that all women and girls are able to live free from abuse and intimidation within our society.
Dr. Becky Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week we celebrate the International Day of Midwives. Midwives are an essential part of ending inequity in maternal health, delivering life-saving community-based care. Will the Minister please commit to working with the Minister for Health to ensure that our 10-year health strategy and NHS workforce plan puts in adequate resources into overstretched maternity units in many often deprived parts of our country?
Yes, I'm happy to give my honourable friend that commitment. I know how seriously the Health Secretary takes this issue because he knows, as I do, that too many women have been failed by poor maternal care, enduring traumatic experiences, and all women deserve safe, compassionate care in those very difficult, often quite difficult times that they can experience. That's why we are committed to training thousands more midwives, and through our NHS 10-year plan, we will ensure that there is equitable access right across the country for all women as they experience pregnancy and childbirth.
We now come to Prime Minister's questions. Matt Bishop.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rising tensions between India and Pakistan will be of serious concern for many across Britain. We are engaging urgently with both countries, as well as other international partners, encouraging dialogue, de-escalation and the protection of civilians. Mr. Speaker, Britain will fall silent tomorrow to mark the anniversary of VE Day. It is a day to remember our greatest generation, whose courage and selflessness won a victory over tyranny and evil. Past and present, the service of our armed forces defends our freedom, protects the values that we stand for, and makes this country so proud. Mr. Speaker, the landmark deal we've secured with India is a huge win for working people in this country. After years of negotiation, this government has delivered in months, slashing tariffs, boosting wages, unleashing opportunities for UK businesses. It's the biggest trade deal the UK has delivered since we left the EU. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2018, my constituent Richard Wellington was diagnosed with a glioblastoma and given just 12 months to live. Against the odds, he's still with us today. He knows his time is limited, however, and is determined to leave a legacy by improving brain cancer treatment for others. His courage is inspiring and shows extraordinary resilience. But, Mr. Speaker, patients with brain tumours fell through the cracks in our healthcare system under the Conservatives, and this must end. Will the Prime Minister set out how Labour will speed up cancer diagnosis and improve treatment times for brain tumour patients such as Richard as we go further with our plan for change?
Mr. Speaker, can I send my best wishes, and I'm sure of the House, to Richard and to every family living with cancer for their courage and fortitude. Can I also pay tribute to my honourable friend for Mitcham and Morden, for her work to raise awareness of the devastating impact of brain cancer. I'm really proud that our plan for change has already delivered faster diagnosis for more than 80,000 cancer patients. We're rolling out Cancer 360, Mr. Speaker. That's groundbreaking new technology that will slash treatment delays across the NHS, investing in more scanners, surgical hubs and radiotherapy machines. It's important work that is only happening because of our decision to make a record investment in the NHS, opposed by every other party.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I echo the Prime Minister's comments? It was an honour to meet veterans at the VE Day parade on Monday and to commemorate the sacrifice of that generation. I look forward to marking VE Day at Westminster Abbey tomorrow. Does the Prime Minister now admit that he was wrong to remove the winter fuel payment from millions of pensioners?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the #1 job of this government was to put our finances back in order after the last government lost control. That is, and to deal with the £22 billion black hole that they left. Because of our action, we've stabilised the economy, we've invested record amounts in the NHS, with a payment out for 3 million lowest paid, and of course we're committed to the triple lock, which improved pensions by £470 last year. And Mr. Speaker, because of the work that we've done, we're a country that countries like India want to do deals with because of the messages and the work that we've done.
Mr. Speaker, the only black hole is the one the Prime Minister is digging. This issue affects some of the poorest and most vulnerable pensioners. His mayor in Doncaster says it's wrong. His First Minister in Wales says it's wrong. Even his own MPs are saying it's wrong. He's refused to listen to me on this. Will he at least listen to his own party and change course?
Mr. Speaker, let's spell this out. All the parties opposite would take this country back to where it was a few years ago. Broken public finances, interest rates through the roof, NHS waiting lists at all-time high. Because no other party in this House is prepared to say how they would put the finances straight. No other party is saying how they would invest in our NHS and public services. No other party is focused on the long-term prosperity of Britain. No one on this side, Mr. Speaker, is denying how big the challenges that we face, but no one on that side of the House is even prepared to take those challenges on.
Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't balance it on the backs of pensioners. Pensioners are poorer and colder because of his decisions. All the while, energy has got more expensive for everyone. Why has the Prime Minister broken his promise to cut energy bills by £300?
Mr. Speaker, the way to bring energy bills down for good is to deliver cheap, clean, homegrown energy. And in the meantime, we've extended the Warm Homes discount to 6 million households, 1 in 5 families. That's £150 off the bills next winter. But what won't bring energy bills down is the Leader of the Opposition's policy, leaving us hooked on fossil fuels at the mercy of dictators like Putin. I'll tell you what else won't bring bills down. It's them blocking every infrastructure that's needed in their own backyards. They balance the books, they crash the economy on the backs of millions of working people in this country. That's why they delivered the verdict they did at the last general election.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talks about clean energy. We have the second highest amount of renewables on the grid in Europe, and yet we still have the highest energy bills. This is not about clean energy. The Prime Minister has broken another promise. He won't admit it, but isn't the truth that he can't cut energy bills because of his net zero policy?
Energy bills on fossil fuel have fluctuated massively in the last 3 years because we're exposed to the international market. The only way to get bills down is to go to renewable energy. It's something she used to believe in, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've got the Shadow Chancellor here, his previous words. Net zero, the shift must happen now as a matter of urgency. His words, it's no longer an environmental issue. Energy independence should be reviewed as part of our national security. He must have our lines, I think, Mr. Speaker. But what about the Leader of the Opposition herself? This is what she said. We believe that green trade and investment will be the future-proofing force that will help us create better tomorrow. And then she went on to say this, Mr. Speaker. It's long-term investment in nuclear and renewables that will reduce our dependencies on fossil fuels and keep down consumer costs. Now, she's got a reputation, apparently, for straight talking. She was right then, wasn't she?
Mr. Speaker, this approach to net zero is irrational. It's doomed to fail. Those aren't my words, they're Tony Blair's. He wants to throw words back, he should speak to him. But the truth is, the Prime Minister is on another planet. His net zero plans mean ever more expensive energy. Across the country, jobs are disappearing. Last week, a ceramics factory in Stoke closed because of energy costs. This morning, 250 more job losses have been announced in the North Sea. And yet, the amount of gas the UK is importing is doubling. So why is he shutting down the North Sea rather than getting our oil and gas out of the ground and making energy cheaper?
Mr. Speaker, as I've said many times, oil and gas will be part of the mix for many decades to come. But net zero, Mr. Speaker, is an opportunity to be seized. we've had over £43 billion invested since July of last year in clean energy. That's good for the economy, good for business, good for jobs, apprentices and growth. Mr. Speaker, the global race is on for the jobs of the future, and I believe Britain can win that race. The Leader of the Opposition, I don't think, is yet a climate denier, but she's a climate defeatist. She doesn't believe in Britain's ability to win the race for our economy, businesses and jobs. And they've never backed Britain. There's nothing patriotic about that.
Kemi Badenoch, defeat the climate.
Mr. Speaker, he's got no answer, but he couldn't even bring himself to say something. He couldn't even bring himself to say something to the 250 people who found out that they lost their job this morning. The fact is, pensioners are poorer and people are being laid off. From winter fuel to net zero, his energy policy is a disaster and everyone knows it. We know it, the public know it, the unions know it, his MPs know it, even Tony Blair knows it. His only answer is to go further and faster in the wrong direction. Why should we all suffer because he won't admit he has got this wrong?
Mr. Speaker, of course nobody wants to see job losses, but she should address her comments to the tens of thousands of men and women in this country working on renewables for the future of our country and tell them that she doesn't want that. That is anti-growth, anti-jobs and anti-working people. But every week, Mr. Speaker, she comes along to talk the country down, to cart from the sidelines. She can't even bring herself to celebrate the deal we've done with India. They took 8 years fiddling around and got absolutely nothing. We've delivered the best deal since we left the EU, the most ambitious deal for India, which will be measured in billions of pounds into our economy and thousands of jobs in the country. She should be welcoming that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. UK Automotive faces major challenges, and Trump's tariffs are the latest crisis to hit the industry. Investment and jobs are now on the line, from Mini to McLaren, Aston Martin, Jaguar Land Rover, and many others. Will the Prime Minister continue to make their case in his talks with the US regime and remain a champion for this vital sector, unlike the Honourable Member for Clacton, who believes that Jaguar deserves to go bust?
Mr. Speaker, he makes a very good point. We are backing British car companies like JLR, and our India trade deal will see tariffs slashed for car sales, and that is good for British jobs. And the criticism on the double taxation is incoherent nonsense. It's a benefit to working people. It's in the agreements that we've already got with 50 other countries. And if the member for Clacton or the Leader of the Opposition is seriously suggesting that they're going to tear up agreements with 50 other countries, create a massive hole in our economy, they should get up and they should say so.
Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we celebrate 80 years since Britain led our allies to victory over fascism, can I, on behalf of the Liberal Democrats, pay tribute to all those who struggled and sacrificed so much for our freedoms today? And can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks about the conflict in Kashmir, and with him urge restraint and de-escalation on both sides? Mr. Speaker, among the messages voters sent ministers last week, one stood out: bring back the winter fuel payment for millions of struggling pensioners. So people will be disappointed the Prime Minister failed to do that today. Mr. Speaker, he says he wants to go further and faster to clean up the mess left by the Conservatives. But on social care, so crucial for our NHS, he's going slower and slower. Not only will the Casey Commission take 3 years, we learnt on Friday the government plans to take an extra 7 years to implement it, not till 2036. So will the Prime Minister rip up that timetable, make sure he doesn't repeat the mess made by the Conservatives, and get on with fixing social care this year?
Mr. Speaker, as he knows, we're taking this in two stages. We are already taking measures to increase the support for social care, quite right too, and doing the long work to reform and make sure we put a system in place. But can I just say to him once again, he comes here every week saying we should spend more money, and he comes here at the same time saying he doesn't want to pay for any of the measures to raise that money. That is nonsense.
Mr. Speaker, I'm disappointed with that answer, and I will keep coming back to hold the Prime Minister to account. Mr. Speaker, people also want a government that will stand up for our country against Donald Trump. Mr. Speaker, first he came for our steelworkers and our car makers with his outrageous tariffs. Now Donald Trump is coming for our world-leading British film industry. So will the Prime Minister work with our allies in Europe and in the Commonwealth and make clear to President Trump that if he picks a fight with James Bond, Bridget Jones and Paddington Bear, he will lose?
Mr. Speaker, he really should listen to the sectors that he thinks he's championing. They do not want us to abandon the work we're doing to try and get an agreement with America. They want that agreement to reduce tariffs. That's the sensible, pragmatic way to protect our national interest. It is not sensible or pragmatic to choose between the US and the EU, to abandon the work we're doing on trade with the US and leave the tariffs exactly where they are. That's the most damaging thing that could possibly be done.
Jack Abbott.
For the House, it's my register of interest. Mr. Speaker, for young people in Ipswich, there is no shortage of ambition, just a need for greater opportunities. And that's why last autumn I was proud to sign an agreement with Sizewell C guaranteeing 500 jobs for people in my town, alongside additional investment for Suffolk New College's courses on welding, engineering and fabrication, so kids in my town can access well-paid, secure skills jobs on offer. So therefore, can I urge the Prime Minister to support a final investment decision for Sizewell C, not just for our country's energy security, but also for the once-in-a-generation opportunities for young people in Ipswich and Suffolk?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's good to see a local Labour MP fighting for jobs in his constituency and achieving excellent results. Mr. Speaker, we will make our final investment decision at the spending review, something the party opposite failed to deliver in 14 years. We're unashamedly pro-nuclear, pro-growth and pro-jobs. That's why we're making it easier to build small modular reactors and scrapping absurd rules that left vital projects tangled up in needless paperwork. We're doing the work that they failed to do in 14 years.
Stephen Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Prior to the election, the Prime Minister promised that energy bills would come down. They continue to rise. He promised that he would save the refinery at Grangemouth. It's shut. And of course, he promised that he would unleash a generation of secure energy jobs in my city of Aberdeen. Well, today, Harbour Energy, the largest independent player in the North Sea, have announced that they are about to shed their workforce by 25%. That's 250 jobs in my constituency gone in the blink of his eye. And do you know who they blame, Mr. Speaker? They blame the policies of the Labour Party. So can I ask the Prime Minister, in fact, can I invite the Prime Minister to come to Aberdeen and explain to my constituents why he is willing to move heaven and earth to save jobs in Scunthorpe while destroying jobs in Scotland?
Mr. Speaker, nobody wants to see job losses, but I'd remind the right honourable member that before we came into office 10 months ago, the SNP government in Holyrood, alongside the Conservative government, did absolutely nothing for projects like Granmouth. Absolutely nothing. In Grangemouth, we have committed £200 million to secure the future for the site, delivered a £100 million deal. We're helping with the training guarantees that are needed. But just like his First Minister, the Honourable he'll raise anything to distract from their disastrous record. Almost 1 in 6 Scots stuck on an NHS waiting list, standards and violence in Scottish schools, over £1 billion cut from local government. We gave them the biggest settlement since devolution. They've been in power for nearly 2 decades. They've got absolutely nowhere to hide their appalling record.
You should struggle.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for recently visiting the now royal port of Barrow in my constituency to lay the keel for the new Dreadnought-class submarines recently. He will have seen how proud we are to build our nuclear deterrent, which keeps us safe. As we move forward with our plans for change, does the Prime Minister agree with me that Barrow and Furness can provide a blueprint for the whole country with defence investment, creating jobs, growth and prosperity in communities right across the UK?
She's absolutely right, Mr Speaker. Royal Barrow is a model for how defence can be a catalyst for the skilled, well-paid jobs right across the United Kingdom. And I was proud and humbled to thank the crew of the Vanguard submarine returning home after months away, including 4 of those on board who are returning to their newborn children. That's the change that will come from spending 2.5% of GDP on defence for the first time since the last Labour government. Extra investment in Barrow has been made possible by my honourable friend and this government because the party opposite made promises, but as usual, they never ever set the money aside.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Ahead of the 80th anniversary of VE Day, may I thank the Prime Minister for his government's recognition of the highly dangerous and clandestine work of the 1,746 pilots and navigators who form the RAF's photographic reconnaissance squadrons and the 635 Buckinghamshire-based photographic interpreters, often forgotten, by marking their service with a national memorial near the Churchill War Rooms. They had a near-death rate of 50% and only 2.5 months life expectancy. But they still captured 26 million images of enemy operations, providing daily up-to-date intelligence via the interpreter's analysis to the strategists in the Cabinet War Rooms for all our armed forces. I'd ask the Prime Minister to join me when this national memorial is unveiled to pay our respects to the likes of the late Captain Wilfred Bruce Tilley, DFC, of Axbridge in my constituency, and the other amazing young men whose work was so critical to the safety of millions of people in this country and elsewhere.
Well, can I thank her for raising this really important issue? And I'm sure members across the House would support a memorial to the service and sacrifice of those veterans. The bravery and service of individuals like Captain Tilley and others in the photographic reconnaissance units and photographic interpreters saved the lives of many servicemen and servicewomen and, of course, civilians at the cost, as she rightly points out, of many casualties, in fact, of those units. So as we mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day, we will remember them who helped secure our greatest victory.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the London Borough of Hackney spends £54 million a year and rising on temporary accommodation. Not only is this costing the taxpayer dear, but it's wrenching families apart, communities rent asunder, schools are closing, and families are living in hostels in overcrowded rooms or far-flung out of London. I welcome our pledge to build 1.5 million new homes. Will the Prime Minister reassure my constituents that social housing is a priority for him?
Well, she's absolutely right. Families are desperate for security of their own home, and we're delivering the biggest boost to affordable and social housing in a generation, backed by an additional £2 billion of investment. And that and our reforms will supply our ambitions to build 88,000 new homes across London, including in her constituency. Mr Speaker, at the same time, we're tackling the root causes of homelessness and, of course, scrapping Section 21 evictions.
Savage.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Under the Conservatives, inequality has surged, with now over 14 million people, including 2,000 children in the South Cotswolds, now living in poverty, while the richest 1% see their incomes soar. Of the developed countries, we are now the 9th most unequal. Will the Prime Minister listen to the Liberal Democrats, the public and many of his own Labour backbenchers and commit to reversing changes such as PIP, the winter fuel allowance and 2-child benefit cap, and introduce clear poverty reduction targets to ensure that any economic growth benefits those who need it most?
Well, she's right to raise the appalling record of the last government, which saw 900,000 more children in poverty. Mr Speaker, we're already delivering 750 free breakfast clubs, boosting the minimum wage for over 3 million. That's the lowest paid workers in our country. And the Child Poverty Task Force is looking at every lever that can be pulled. I'm very proud of the last Labour government's record on tackling poverty, and will continue to do that in this government.
Lynn Stewart.
Mr Speaker, last month's data showed the NHS lists in Wales fell by 3 months in a row. In England, the waiting lists have fallen by 6 months in a row. In Scotland, after nearly 20 years in charge, the SNP government have left our NHS on its knees. Instead, remarkable acts of charity from rock legend Rod Stewart are helping people to get the care they need. Will the Prime Minister agree with me that Scotland needs a new direction so that my constituents in Ayr, Carrick and Cumnock don't rely on charity for their health care?
Well, I thank her for raising this issue. The contrast, as she points out, is stark. In England and Wales, waiting lists are falling, with over 3 million extra appointments already delivered. In Scotland, the SNP they've just introduced, Mr Speaker, their 5th NHS recovery plan in just 4 years. They've had the biggest budget settlement since devolution. Nearly 2 decades in power, they've still no idea how to fix the NHS, and they've run out of excuses.
Sean Burry.
Mr Speaker, VE Day marked the end of horror in Europe, and afterwards our post-war expansion of welfare benefits was something truly principled from Labour. So, given the real fear felt by disabled people in Brighton Pavilion and across the nation, will the Prime Minister agree that now is the time to be principled again and restore their support, not make his MPs vote to restrict it?
Well, I thank her for raising the record of the post-war Labour government, a great reforming government. Mr Speaker, the principles remain the same, which is those that need support and protection should have that support and protection. Those that can be supported and helped into work should be helped and supported into work, something that isn't happening under the system as it is, and those who can work should work.
Colin Days.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Crewe in my constituency has a proud rail heritage, with Crewe Station boasting unrivalled 360-degree connectivity to all 4 corners of our country. So when the Conservative government took the decision to cancel the second leg of HS2, this was a great betrayal of my constituents, taking a sledgehammer to our town's prospects for regeneration and prosperity. So will the Prime Minister look kindly upon proposals to extend high-speed rail north of Birmingham, utilising Crewe's unique strategic value to the rail network and bringing opportunity and prosperity to the north of England?
Well, Mr Speaker, he's right to highlight the importance of stronger and more reliable rail connections, improving journeys and driving economic growth. The party opposite utterly failed to grip delivery on HS2. Costs went through the roof, timelines were shredded, false promises and a total failure. Mr Speaker, we're reviewing the position that we inherited, and we're committed to improving rail connectivity across the north, and we've already announced £415 million extra for the key Trans-Pennine route upgrade, which will slash journey times, deliver growth and more reliable modern services for passengers.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This week, the Israeli government approved a plan to officially conquer Gaza. And just yesterday, Minister Smotrich vowed that Gaza will be entirely destroyed and that the Palestinians will have to leave in great numbers to third countries. This comes at the end of the extermination of over 50,000 Palestinian men, women and children, and something at the same time simultaneous expansion of illegal settlements in the West Bank, something I witnessed with my own eyes last week. So will now the Prime Minister finally acknowledge that ethnic cleansing is underway and to end all UK military cooperation with Israel, especially the illegal provision of F-35 fighter jet parts, or will he risk make Britain complicit in war crimes and be the Prime Minister to see Britain answer at The Hague for its role in this atrocity?
Well, Mr Speaker, most of what he says is simply not right. But can I address, I do want to address the position in Gaza and the West Bank, because it is increasingly intolerable. And I am deeply concerned, particularly with the lack of aid that is getting in and the impact it's having on tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of individuals. That concern is something I recently reaffirmed to the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, where I asserted again that a two-state solution is the only viable approach for peace. And our focus is on delivering peace for Palestinians and Israelis, returning to the ceasefire, getting the hostages out and humanitarian aid in that is desperately needed in greater number and more quickly.
Maureen Barr.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As a result of a relationship breakdown, my constituent Martin and his 3 children ended up homeless. They have gone from living in a hotel to temporary accommodation. Martin feels abandoned because Glasgow City Council haven't been in contact for months. Months of uncertainty has disrupted all their lives, but Martin is especially worried about the impact on his children's education. Like any father, he wants stability for his family, but the lack of social housing means they are stuck in complete limbo. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that every child, no matter where they live, deserves a safe home and access to a good education, and that in every part of the UK we need to build more social housing to end homelessness?
Yeah. Well, Mr Speaker, I'm deeply sorry to hear about Martin's case and absolutely agree with her comments about every family deserving a safe and a secure home. And in England, that's why we're investing an additional £2 billion to help deliver the biggest increase in social and affordable house building in a generation. But in Scotland, it is frankly disgraceful that over 10,000 children have no fixed home to call their own after nearly 20 years of an SNP government. Mr Speaker, that's the highest level ever and shows why Scotland desperately needs a new direction.
That because...
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Last week, I was talking to Jason, a pub landlord, and he told me he's heard a rumour about the Prime Minister. Oh. Not that one, not that one. He's heard that there is a reason why the Prime Minister hates Britain's pubs. Landlords like Jason are being battered by Labour's jobs tax and the slashing of small business rates relief, meaning that as many as half of Britain's pubs could be closed by 2030. Why does he hate Britain's pubs? And if he doesn't, why is he taxing them into extinction?
Mr Speaker, nobody likes pubs better than me, and we support them. But, Mr Speaker, it's the same old nonsense. They say they don't want the national insurance rise, but they don't have the courage to say they'd reverse it, because they know if they said that, they wouldn't be able to say where the money's coming from. That's how we got into the problem in the first place.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Few things are more harrowing than a parent's desperate and repeated attempts to access the mental health support their child needs. Organisations like Smile, a counselling service supporting young people in the Bathgate and Linlithgow constituency, are stepping into the breach whilst young people languish on waiting lists without the help they need. Over the last decade, Smile has been a lifeline for thousands. Will the Prime Minister join me in wishing Declan and the team at Smile a very happy 10th birthday and thank them for their invaluable work in supporting our young people and families?
Well, Mr Speaker, can I join her and commend all the staff at Smile for their vital work. Far too many young people are left without the support that they need. And that's why we're recruiting an additional 8,500 mental health workers, providing access to specialist mental health professionals in every school, and funding talking therapies across the country to bring down waiting times and get people the care that they need.
Alfred Blandry.
With the so-called EU-UK Reset Summit less than 2 weeks away, will the Prime Minister reassure the House that he will not hand over any British sovereign powers, particularly hard-won controls over our UK fishing waters, in backroom deals with Brussels?
Mr Speaker, as she knows, we're committed to resetting the relationship with the EU. We think there's a better deal that can be had. I'm not going to provide a running commentary. What I can say is this. We will act only, as we always do, in the national interest. We've secured a very good deal with India. We're talking to the US, and we're going for a reset with the EU to boost our economy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As you know, I'm alarmed by news that the Press Association, which assiduously covers our exchanges here, may cut back its dawn to dusk coverage through redundancies. Now, Hansard faithfully records our words, but it is reporters in the press gallery which bear witness to the human drama here. And no amount of AI will replace the human eyes in the press gallery. Will the Prime Minister join me and my honourable friend from Rochdale in calling on the newspapers and media outlets which fund the Press Association to hold the front page and reconsider these rash moves?
Well, Mr. Speaker, he raised a really important point. We enjoy free press and independent journalism in this country. Across the world, journalists risk their lives and lose their lives doing what they do best, independently pursuing the truth. And I've been on many occasions to award ceremonies, usually on a yearly basis, where the names of those journalists that have either lost their lives or their freedom is read out. And it's always a humbling reminder of the really important work that they do.
Final question, Mike Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, as you know, Parliament has banned charging of electric vehicles in its underground car park because of safety concerns. And yet, local authorities around the country often feel powerless to stop the construction of battery energy storage systems near people's homes, near our rivers and canals, despite 3 fires already this year. Will the Prime Minister look again at his planning and infrastructure bill to make it easier, rather than harder, for local communities to have a meaningful say?
Mr. Speaker, I'm really proud that on our planning and infrastructure we're taking the action that hasn't been taken for years to drive our economy. And I'll remind him it was the thing that was signalled by the OBR as the single biggest driver of growth over the coming years.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the front bench change over. Right, we now come to the urgent question. Stuart Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To ask the Minister if he will make a statement